So
Cool.
let's just join in the oneness of being that we are, this essential field that underlies all experiencing, resting into that, enjoying that, settling into that, letting that permeate every cell of our experience, letting that hold us and comfort us and inspire this meeting in whatever it needs to be in service to that wholeness that we are, with no agendas, just the kindness and the simplicity of being here and being together. And yeah, thank you for joining me, bro. I
Me too, brother.
was looking forward to seeing you and just seeing what comes through and yeah, just connecting in and seeing what's new for you. And
Yeah,
yeah.
awesome. Yeah, even it's just funny how these things are too. It's like getting like a feedback from just our interactions from the past. It's almost like we're building that rapport and the
Mm-hmm.
empathy to like what to say or what seems to just come out automatically through us. So it's always
Yeah.
lovely, yeah, like talking about this and letting spirit guide us wherever it may be.
Mm-hmm.
As for what's new, I feel like if there's a new path, like early in the morning, it feels like this new, I wouldn't say routine, but this like excitement to go and this cliffs. I'm living in Southern California right now, so it's like these, I'd say like a beach, but not sand. And typically I
Yeah.
would just go to these beaches with sand when I was like growing up for
Mm-hmm.
like, relaxation or whatever reason. But now it's like, it's almost an area where I grew up where it feels like these stones, it's almost like metaphoric in a way. It's like these stones of foundation and just like exploring. It's almost like it feels like a private island even. It's like so blessed to like be in that. And it feels like almost this like Lemurian Atlantis energy of
Mm-hmm.
that's always coming up and just
Mm-hmm.
like so perfect with birds, the reflection of birds and waves just coming in and out. Just the nice feeling of that breeze that's always coming in, five senses.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah,
Yeah.
just wanting it, if any of you guys kind of come by just visit and, take
Mm-hmm.
you lost because it feels so like wonderful in a way, but it's also
Mm-hmm.
like that contrast of like, you have a beach and it could be like very public and it's awesome too. And then there's that dynamic of it's almost like that Forrest Gump guy was it Tom Hanks and the island or Castaway, like that.
Castaway.
Yeah.
So you say you found a new path, you mean you literally found like a trail to this beach?
Yeah,
Yeah.
literally.
Yeah. That's
It's like,
awesome.
yeah, I don't know. This is interesting describing it too, because
Mm,
growing up there in Palos Verdes, there's like these um, places you could just go and walk by, and typically you could just be in your car and you could just experience the waves and just like you could just see the ocean, right? But now
yeah.
it's like, yeah, you could just go on these paths, and the paths are actually open. I just didn't go on these paths.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Now it's like, oh, you actually go get closer to the beach. It's almost like a
Mm,
the experience of just going there. Because I think there's this program of like you're gonna fall down because the cliffs are so high or the wind is moving it. These like beliefs, right? And then you realize it feels like, oh, I'm being guided to go deeper into the fear. And
yeah.
oh wow, like you do it once and then you do it over again and it becomes like a
Mm,
fear barrier. Like you're getting over your fears basically. So it's like
yeah.
and
Yeah.
you go back to just our conversations, like maybe the first conversation of someone you don't know, it's like it could be, oh, I don't know what to expect. Maybe they won't like me or I'd say something stupid or weird, whatever, right? So it's like this
Yeah.
energy of like finding new paths of revealment of and it's like very peaceful. It's like whatever um we could make use of it, really. I think and it feels relevant to just speak about it in that sense.
Yeah. Yeah. The thing it's making me think of is like, it's like part one, like you're saying, it's stepping through a fear barrier. And then part two is that leads to like a deeper intimacy with your experience, actually, because now you're actually going into a more nuanced relationship with the place that you live and actually finding the beauty in like some of the finer details. Whereas before it was more of just like an overview. Oh, I know the ocean. I know the
Yeah,
ocean.
exactly.
But it's like, do you know the ocean?
That's how you actually, it's like almost infinite possibilities too. Again, it's like in these like little minute adjustments, like maybe before it was just like being in the car looking at the waves. And now
Hmm.
it's like your body is going in the direction almost like in swimming uh proximity even or
Yeah.
walking. And it doesn't matter like the time, right? We're always pressing time. I mean, obviously there's a different context with okay, if you had a job and you need to be back a certain time or appointment at a certain time. But it's like all these time knobs, pressured to do time
Yeah.
in time. And now it feels like you can just, I mean, this opportunity's always been there. It's just that choice of like, what are you going to use this time for? And it's almost like this revealment of abundance
Yeah.
energy.
Yeah. I like how you also linked it to a similarity between relational dynamics where you can become more intimately nuanced in interactions with each other
Yeah.
and the infinite possibilities that lie there. Yeah. When we let ourselves be freed from these extraneous time pressures or whatever pressures they are, it's not necessarily time, although it's probably related to time or, other things having to do with time, productivity, you
Yeah.
name it.
Yeah. It's like the onion analogy is like working both ways. It's like maybe it was for transmutation, like looking at the unconscious or looking what comes up in direct experience. And now it feels it's another area of just like, okay, you could be in a relationship with just how that goes, like the rapport that builds up and kind of like, sometimes when you talk to someone, you know someone so well, it's almost like that telepathy. You could finish each other words, but it could be like this dynamic of, okay, what maybe there's a third party listening or something, or maybe I'm so used to thinking about all the happy stuff and thinking about the positive stuff. Maybe I could look at the negative stuff or the angry
Mm,
stuff, the depression stuff. And
mm,
it's like literally it's all description and just energy, one motion. But yeah, that's still an ideal and concept. So it's like we're using all these tools, analogies, and symbols and words, but really, I think the connection and that trust, like I could talk to you about anything really, and it's like having that trust to open up for any body in the dream,
mm,
body in this world, anybody in the earth. Obviously, and maybe it's like we can't have those relationships for all 8 billion people who or whoever, whatever number there may seem to be. And I feel like it's just great to just the intention to connect and support in that regard, just holding space. Someone called me earlier. I haven't spoken to him in like 2 years, and it was just almost like, in a way, it just felt like energy that he needed to rant. You know what I mean? So it's like, okay, um, maybe that's the service, right? Maybe that's all the placeholder, and you could share the stories. You could play like Aikido with each other, or like transmutate tennis with each other. But
yeah.
who knows, like why that happens, and it happens for a good reason, maybe.
Yeah. It's the beauty too when we soften that judgmental part of the mind that says maybe, oh, he shouldn't be ranting. Oh, he's misguided in this way. All those judgments that can crop up. But when we've kind of freed ourselves from a lot of that, then it's actually just the pleasure or the joy of connecting with someone, regardless of what they bring to us almost.
Yeah.
And in some ways, the unprocessed energy becomes this gift that they offer to us. And then it kind of washes through the whole interaction in a way that is so actually beautiful. And you feel like, wow, that's so nice that I can be of service to them in that way and connect with them in that way. Yeah, I've been noticing that lately. Relationships that I thought were problematic. And now I'm realizing, no, like you were just judging what was happening.
It's like anything goes. It's like, oh, okay, maybe I was judging or judging the rant, and then there could have
Yeah.
been a deeper dynamic. And yeah, it's just funny how these like ego games can work with
Hmm.
that of like, oh, it should be a certain way, or oh, okay, maybe my solar plexus is feeling contracted if we're going in this idea. Like,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah. I like Aikido maybe a little bit more than tennis because I feel like tennis is the game that the ego plays where it's just like I
yeah,
don't want it, you take it. No,
yeah,
you have it, take it. But in Aikido, you kind of accept their energy and roll with it,
yeah,
a
like
little bit more.
moving your own or moving their energy with your energy.
Hmm.
That dance. Yeah, it's like all the analogies. I mean, tennis too. I feel like with like Duchamp, that we have this concept of just yeah, just moving back and forth in a way. It's like
Hmm.
well now and the valley. I mean, something the image came up of the Olympics when people were playing table tennis and they were warming
Hmm.
up like they were competitors, but still it's like they have to like train or like just have a volley of getting the ideas back and forth,
Hmm.
crisscross. Yeah, it's like almost another idea just came up with like there is a monster in like it could be anger or repression, past life stuff or systematic stuff, but there's also like this gentleness I'm seeing too. It's like this paradox of there could be an intense energy, but there's also this grace of energy. Like it's almost like Kung Fu Panda. Like there's all these
Hmm.
concepts of martial arts, and then
Hmm.
but there's a really real lightness and like child innocence, sweetness, purity to
Hmm.
stories, and just the power of storytelling and analogy
Yeah.
that relate inner soul to
Hmm.
people.
Yeah, that just kind of brought up the image of the pastimes of Krishna when there's a lot of stories of him as a child in Vrindavan, and he's a little cowherd boy, and he just runs through the forest with all these other cowherd boys, and they just have fun, they just play. But every once in a while, a gigantic demon will crop up out of a lake or something, and
Mhm.
everyone will get scared. But Krishna is not scared, he just keeps playing and he plays with the demon until he, by his own nature, destroys the demon through his play. And it
Right.
never gets heavy, it never gets heavy for Krishna. He's just like, we, yeah.
I mean, over here, I mean, it's like it feels like whatever programming it needs to be seen in a way. It's like the word demon and Satan was something I was working through because I think maybe it's just some Christian background, or
Hmm.
even like the Chinese symbols of devil or demon is like
Hmm.
has its own yeah, like its own associations. But for me, seeing it as yeah, just another image and really making it just a character to play around with, making it a game, and no word or image should be scary. And if it is scary, it's like there is a beautiful process to go through that or to expose that.
Yeah.
It's relevant in that way. It's like the energy of these yeah, fears or aversions that want to be seen, and it's like a funny story that the mind can play up in the dream. um and yeah, it just feels like that. I love how you're talking about just the demon part of like how it's supposed to be playful in that way. It's like it's not supposed to be scary, but in the dream there's always that mechanism to make it scarier than what it is. uh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Of course, I guess as we become adventurous, we learn that the fear is sort of part of the fun, right? And it's like, it wouldn't really be exciting if there wasn't at least a tinge of the opportunity to go into fear, like that. And the other idea that was coming up as you're speaking was this idea of play and innovation go hand in hand, like
Mm,
playful innovation.
yeah.
So that, and then this idea that like our play actually, like to really be in your play means you allow yourself to be transformed by your experience. It's like, and when you meet your fears in a playful way, the fears disappear, but you are actually transformed and enriched by stepping through it, by meeting it, and by, playing with it. You're changed, like you're a new level of consciousness once you kind of go through that experience.
I love that. Yeah, as you spoke about that, it reminds me of like I think it was Joseph Campbell's Hero's Journey. It's like you have these challenges for yourself, and then you may have a mentor, or you may have like a boss level, like a monster that you're facing, and then you
Mm,
defeat the monster, and then you come back to your city that you grew up or something, and then kind of ex expand that wisdom or expand that consciousness.
mm,
And then on and on, it just goes again, just like this cycle of just learning and teaching. And yeah, there's the power of archetypes or symbols with that of connecting into the fun of it. Because if there is a mindset of like, oh, this is serious, like fucking good versus evil is all that there is, or if people get sucked into a political system like in the US, like there's going to be possibly a new president, maybe who knows, these pendulums. Uh,
hmm
it's like, is it serious, or is it something we can have compassion about, or even have fun about these little things?
mm.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it's like the journey of it is always coming for refinement. It's like we still have to talk about it. Like if you just talk to yourself about it all the time, whether it's like on YouTube, it just feels almost like you can't really challenge yourself in that way. And you know what I mean? Like
Mm,
I guess like the power of contrast in these relationships, it's like the blind spots of whether you call it like detachment or if you feel like it's too serious, just like that inch of contrast where it is fun or funny that you could create like another uh, direction for your service, or maybe the
mm,
service from the higher self.
mm.
Yeah. And yeah,
Yeah.
in that
I
in that
feel like that just that little thread of playfulness just allows for this flow of fresh energy into the situation and new possibilities and yeah, innovation again, like I was saying. And it reminds me of, well, yeah, it's like you just become this walking invitation to just, just kind of look at it. Let's look at this from just a slightly different angle, a slightly different angle, a slightly different angle. And your playful ability to be flexible around those things obviously offers others this potential of like, wait, maybe I am taking this really seriously and maybe I don't have to, but it's fun in that playful way. You're not actually directly challenging their belief systems because that tends to really get things locked up.
oh
But it's
yeah,
just like playfully playing with different,
like it's like
different potentials. Yeah. Yeah. Aikido again. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. I want to bring in like Ito Portal. He's like the movement master and the guy. I mean,
Mm, mm. He
and
popped up on my feed today. I saw that he did an interview. I didn't watch it, but
oh, another one is like, and it's really interesting to see that too, because I think typically it would just be movement videos of just how he he operates in that regard. So it's like it's almost like a
yeah.
diamond to hear like what he's speaking about, because it's like he teaches what he preaches, and he was very experimental, like still, and the key thing was just having fun, like whether it's moving or trying something new, like working on a different side of your body, even having that intention. Like it really is harder than what he makes it, but there's such a, I think the energy of like keeping it consistent was the fun part, and I feel like that's what a lot of the adaptation from fun is. Like if you're in school and you're not having fun, you're not doing things that you love, or not, and this can be a job too. It's like it becomes this, the energy body just contracts. So it's almost that lesson of, in a way, I'm not that Aikido is perfect too, because it is fun in that regard, but just in general, like this instilling a fun function, even like in the back of the mind, like really helps with anything. Like even if I were to talk to myself in high school again, it's just like have more fun. You know what I mean? Like because I think it would be like too in a like great, like okay, you're gonna face consequences if you do this and that, right? Like the programming from society or family that I dreamed up. So it's like, all right, take a step back, have some fun, and that's where like the joy is, like having fun with your friends or having fun with yourself, or
Mm,
listening to music, playing the sports you love, playing basketball, or um,
Yeah.
traveling.
I'm reminded again just like of how that's just that small openness can make such quantum changes in your experience, you know. And I feel like again symbolically finding that new beach spot is a good symbolism of that. It's just like you just let yourself look down this one little trail that was in a different place that you hadn't done before, and it's
Yeah,
like whole new things open up.
yeah. Well, same
Whole,
thing.
it's like
Like,
wow, this was here the
yeah,
whole time.
yeah. It's like in exploring the house you grew up in. It's like, oh, this was actually in the garage. I didn't see this ever, like ever, and then now it's here in my awareness. Or somewhere you're just driving somewhere, exploring, walking somewhere, and then just this was always here. What? And it's almost like
Mm,
these things just pop up, and then I feel like that's kind of this whole direction of revealment. You know what I mean? It's like even the friends that we had in high school, it's like they're going through something similar. It's almost like, whoa, okay, you're talking about this, you were interested in this type of music. I listen to them too, and you find these like connection and relation points. Because ultimately, I
mm,
feel like all of these touching points could be used for deeper connection. So it really doesn't matter like what we're talking about. It's just like the framework of the soul connection, the vibration or resonance. And it's not about the words, it's like it is about the love and that connection.
yeah. The term historyless relationship comes to mind because especially with those people that we've known for a really long time, we think we know them, but it's actually just like a little box that we've painted them into. You're like this. and
Yeah,
and when we open that up, sometimes we can be so surprised by the people we've known from a long time. It's like, oh, there's whole parts of them I've never seen before.
yeah,
Little rooms that open up and potentialities. And it takes a bit of courage to go there, especially with someone that you've sort of tread down a comfortable way of being with, to go off the beaten trail and sort
yeah.
of explore different dynamics with the people that you've known for a long time. Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like that. It's always like trial and error, or at least over here, it just feels like the history and the memory associations we have with people, and then is that actually true? It's like challenging that. Like maybe I do hold resentment for this one time this person did this, and then kind of like creating separation. It's like I'm never going to talk to you, or not even that, like not just talking about that person in particular, but it just creates like this ricochet energy of like a whole like whole demographic or something, or like certain people like this, and somehow that gets programmed into life, and then that was like the resistance. It's like you made a call to choose fear or separation versus just accepting or forgiving in Course in Miracles terms, so just forgiving what they didn't do. And yeah, it's just
Mm-hmm.
interesting to see that as the hologram reveals itself even more, including these people, these dream characters, past, present, and future. It's like,
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of, it's like fractaline, right? That any little place in consciousness can open up into an infinity of experiencing again. And we've thought, oh, that's like a place of, say, even like a place of tension in your body.
yeah,
That's a place of tension, but it's actually just a condensation of energy. And
yeah,
as pure awareness goes into it, you start to see that it's actually flowering and it's full of infinite potentiality as well. And that's another little thing that comes to mind. It's like everything is opening constantly if we're willing to go into it.
yeah, yeah. And even I don't know if I talked to you about this, about like insects, like how there was an aversion towards insects, like, oh, that's gross, and almost like hearing that as like a memory vocal clip from like my mom or sister or something. And then
Yeah.
this walk I had today, there's like certain, I guess, trees or something, plants, where it's just like a hive of like gnats or like these bugs. And it almost reminds me of, I don't know if you've seen that Nicolas Cage movie, Wicker Man. It's like a bunch
Mhm.
of bees and stuff, but it's just like a
Yeah.
bunch of insects. And I was just like, there's something about that is always like this reaction of like, oh, that's kind of scary or gross. but it's like it's still something I could like go through and see that it's just an imagination of fear or just created energy.
Hmm.
And yeah, it feels like things like that kind of open up too. Like not just the jewels, the beautiful stuff, but what the mind deemed as disgusting or ugly can be like used for, like you said, infinite potential of as
Hmm.
like transmuted to jewelry, to jewels, and yeah.
Yeah. And in your experience, what is it that sort of you feel like kind of like allowed you to open into just a little bit more fun, a little bit more playfulness in these things that used to feel heavy? What is it that's like allowed you to kind of start to feel that transition in your own experience?
It just feels like just experience of it. It just feels like these expansions of just like bliss and joy, happiness, peace. And then when there's feeling states of, I guess, like contraction or lower like depression or anger, it's just like there's almost like a joy because it almost feels like it's almost like a cycle. It's like you're swimming in a way. So there's more of a, I guess, creative and fun aspect looking at it. Because I think even if you stay in that contraction too much and like describe it as, oh, this is contraction, this is low energy, this is fucked up, this is not what I want to feel. But it's like in the back of mind from experience, it always opens up towards something bigger and it's almost like a level up. But it just feels like the quote unquote pace or the rate is just faster. I feel like for all of us, right? Like sensitivity is off the charts. So it's like we're
Mm-hmm.
more mindful and placing our attention where we want to go. That includes like, yeah, the internal processes, I feel like. And yeah, and everything in between kind of gently comes into awareness. And ultimately, it's just, I guess, a shift of attitudes and something that seemed like small, but actually was pretty prevalent, like this whole description of certain lower states as just more like neutralizing it. I think in the past it was more like, oh, lower states, not lower states again. But now it's
Mm-hmm.
more of a opening up of like, okay, lower states, what's new? It's just same with like the lower higher chakra stuff. It's like you can deem lower as less important because of the word lower, but they're all equally important and whatever other energy medicine, nadis, chakra systems that are
Mm-hmm.
revealed during this journey. Yeah, so it's like not having even, yeah, significance, like not getting too high on the higher states, like, oh shit, I'm in bliss.
Yeah. Yeah. Not identifying, I guess, is a big,
Yeah.
it's almost like an unspoken assumption now. Yeah, we're not identifying with the
Yeah,
states.
yeah. Because it becomes like it almost screws it up in the long run too. You know what I mean? It's like if we do identify with any state, it just becomes another ego um crystallization in a way. So it's like letting go of it and seeing there's whatever needs to be explored, whatever it is.
Yeah. 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 I'm just feeling so kind of just like relaxed
Mm.
and open in a way that's really quite nice.
Yeah.
That's a state, it's a current state, but it
Yeah.
feels like new or different in a way of like really the relational dynamics seem to be opening up here
Yeah.
in terms of
Likewise, same here.
trusting the interrelationships of any given moment in a way that I was quite resistant to my whole lifetime, really,
Yeah.
because just not being able to predict the human field, you know,
Yeah.
and feeling like that's kind of scary. And
Mm.
it's just learning to trust it more and more, and that I don't need it to be different than it is, and even after the fact, it's not like you did it wrong
Mm.
or screwed that one up. It's just like, no, just trust it. It's good how it was, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And talking about it also helps too. It's like kind of reminding each other, it's like you didn't screw up. It's like no matter what happens or what is said or not said, there's some higher intelligence guiding it. And even if like I've seen this in friends too, it's like, wow, I could have done better, like this mechanism of like doubt and like quality or performance, which is kind of innate in a way. But it's like if we look back, it's always been perfect in that regard. And not just saying like it's always been perfect, but literally it's like if we want to extract like the whatever skill or the energy, it's like it is. And I kind of had this insight after like a good night's sleep. It's almost like, oh, okay, all the work that gets done during the day is it's almost like a video game. It's like it gets the HP increases. It's like some skill set is. And sure, like some stuff can be lingering, but even that is a muscle to be learned too. It feels like it's all being worked out on a higher plane in that regard. And like what happens in the physical plane is just physical. It's like just smokes and mirrors anyways. And even the thoughts about it is programming in that way. So yeah, it's like
Yeah.
relaxing into it. I love like how you said about like having that peace and relaxation because we need that as much as anything else. I do love the intense parts too, but yeah, just enjoying the relaxation of it, like really even slowing down or reflecting, purifying in that way.
Yeah. I mean, a simple way of saying it is that it's all consciousness.
Hmm.
And consciousness is always evolving itself. Like that's all it's really doing through experiencing itself.
Yeah.
So every interaction is consciousness kind of, touching upon itself and just kind of showing itself to itself. And to whatever extent we show up for that process, where we become sort of aligned with it and allowing of it
Yeah.
and yeah, conscious of it.
And even, I mean, when I was like on Zoom, like if I had to go to events and kind of like on the background, it's like I kind of noticed this now lately. It's just I could have been more engaging or just like somewhat like I don't know, honest kind of comes up in a way, but it wasn't really like a detriment. It just feels like there's a belief that there was separation of like a limiting belief of being on Zoom with other people, like other users, other, brothers and sisters in the dream. And really it's like it's the same if we were in here proximity or if this wasn't recorded or not. It's just like it's just other elements it feels like the mind creates. But it's
Mhm.
not it is imaginary in that sense. It's almost like that connection of like you said, the consciousness. It's like it's all consciousness. So it's like it's beautiful to see the intimacy because I do feel like the interconnectedness slash intimacy part is still like a work for all of us in a way. Like you could just say like, yeah, it's all one, it's all consciousness, but it's almost that revealing soul energy of what are you gonna do with it? It's like how can we be even maybe I'm not phrasing it right, but in a way it's like more intimate with ourselves and the ones we want to be intimate with. Because you don't have to be intimate with everybody, you don't have to like post everything 24/7 and have like a live web stream or whatnot.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, it's really just where are we holding back, where we'd rather allow love in, where are we
Yeah.
defining things in terms of fear instead of in terms of love. And
Yeah.
of course I mean, it just is what it is on some extent. It's like we're always going to be on an evolutionary edge. It's just like how vast do we want that to be? And I think for both of us, what we're finding right now is just like the kindness and the simplicity of just kind of being present with each other and with others is an evolutionary edge that's quite enriching, right now.
Yeah.
And kind of just lets, for me, it just lets me like breathe out a little bit because I was kind of holding myself to some pretty intense standards that I wasn't even conscious of, like a fear of screwing up, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Like these unconscious standard, almost, but really, yeah, the program. Like ultimately, like all those are our programs. And touching on that, like when you mean standard too, it's like where do we get these ideas of what the highest standard is, or what's the ideal standard? It's like where is that coming from? And it's like and just like placing it, exposing it is also powerful service.
Mm.
So um, yeah, I feel like it is a humbling process like to see the quote unquote standard or even our ideas gonna get shaken up on this journey, on this beautiful journey with life, with our brothers and sisters, with family, like living back or coming back home, or whatever, a job or career, whatever needs to be used for us. Because you know what I mean? Like there's all these sayings like, okay, it's time to wake up. It's time to get clear, but it's like I think we all want that. Ultimately, it's just like that's kind of in a way the running program for the shared awakening. So it's like I feel like any judgment is just a judgment of yourself. And their friend was talking about like how the crucifixion of Jesus was basically, it's almost like anytime you make a judgment, it's like you could think of Jesus being crucified in a way. It's like it hurts that bad. It's like you're just doing it to yourself, like literally.
Hmm.
And I think it's just a nice kind of way, in a in a way, to look at judgment in a certain way, like catching that mind to not do that, like reprogramming it in that way with ease, like not with force at first, but just like it's just those subtle things that kind of work and are effective that I love.
Yeah. Like you were saying before, forgiveness, that true forgiveness that A Course in Miracles teaches that Jesus represents, which is the undoing of all illusion, ultimately
Mm,
already done, forgiveness forever and ever. Amen.
yeah,
It is finished.
exactly. If that resonates, like that's all the powers. Like it is all done. And then
Yeah.
now it's like just a review process and just I mean, over here it feels like more of a refining process, review slash refining of just our unique gifts and skills, talents to serve each other, to serve, I don't know, community or to serve God, to serve the one infinite creator.
Hmm.
And yeah, that is beautiful to see. And then to see it, in the other of that, like seeing everyone being their chosen self in this chosen reality is also
Mm.
beautiful.
Yeah, to embody, embody love, I guess, embody the infinitude that we are, and let it show up right here. It's like an amazing process that's never complete.
Yeah.
And yeah, we've never really gotten anything, like we can never lay claim to anything in it, really. Just
Yeah.
a continuing deepening.
Deepening deeper and deeper the depths
Mm.
of the conchai of this.
Yeah. Well, I think we're about to run out of time, brother.
Yeah.
Uh,
Always a pleasure. Pleasure and honor.
yeah.
Like,
For you too, man. And
um,
we'll do it again.
yeah, it was fun.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Pierre.
Hmm.